Oke, ini udah nyala ya. Kita udah di DCS setelah hampir setahun ya, belum pernah sisinya lagi, dan welcome back again. Oke, sampai udah lama banget kita nggak main ginian ya. Ini sekarang kita di training modul ya. Ternyata banyak juga ya. Udah, tapi belum. Saya baru coba back to basic. Paling basic berarti F16. Kita coba F16 dulu. Nanti kita mungkin next stream selanjutnya. Ini aja bahkan dibeli, nggak sempat dimain-mainin nih. F15 sama ini juga nih, Apache. Oke, kita ke yang paling gampang dulu, karena saya udah hampir setahun udah lupa juga tombol-tombolnya. Jadi nanti paling saya coba cek sedikit ya controllers. Oh ya, saya juga pakai ginian nih, apa namanya, semoga nggak pegel ya leher saya. Jadi langsung mulai aja. Ini untuk starting ya. Oke, it's good, working good. Saya pengen ngambil ini ya di pop chat. Ini saya mau taruh ini ke docs deh, yang baru. System browser doc name, chat, YouTube. Oke, taruh sini aja. Ini nggak mau ya. Oke. Waduh. Oke lah, nggak apa-apa, nanti aja. Oke, so kita langsung aja di sini.
Welcome to this training lesson on starting up the Viper. In some missions, you will find yourself in a cold and dark Viper that you'll need to bring to life. While this can be a rather long process described in the manual, you can also enable the auto start function. However, for this lesson, we'll review the full startup procedure. Press spacebar when you're ready to get started.
Yoi, mantap. Oke.
As we go, remember a right click generally positions the switch up, while a left click positions the switch down. First, position the main power switch to battery with a click of the right mouse button. This connects the aircraft's battery to essential systems and provides power needed for engine ignition.
Oke, udah. Udah cuy.
Just below the switch on the same panel, verify the amber Flickus relay light is illuminated. This is a check that the flight control computer's fault monitoring system is operating. Press spacebar to continue.
The amber FSCS RLA is light. Oke, iya nih. Terus fine. Oke, lanjut aja spacebar.
Now, position the Flickus power test switch to the test position and hold it in place with the right mouse button. The 4 Flickus power lights next to the switch should illuminate. Returning to the electrical panel, the Flickus relay lights we're just looking at should turn off, and the TO Flickus and Flickus PMG lights should be on. This test verifies operation of flight control computer with aircraft battery as the power source.
Okay.
Release the switch and press spacebar to continue.
Ya. Oke,
Next, position the main power switch to main power. This prepares your aircraft to run off the engine-mounted generator, but electrical power is not available until the engine is up and running. For that reason, the engine and hydraulic oil pressure warning lights on the right eyebrow and electrical system and secondary caution lights on the caution panel should be illuminated. Press spacebar to continue.
Oke.
On the EPU panel that is just outboard of the main power switch, you'll want to verify the EPU generator and EPU PMG lights are off. Illumination of either indicates criteria for EPU activation are met. The EPU could activate and create hazardous conditions if the EPU safety pin is removed by the ground crew. Turn the main power switch to off and abort the aircraft if the lights are on, although this is highly unlikely as you have gone terribly astray in the procedure already. Press spacebar to continue. Now, let's close the canopy in preparation for engine start. This can be delayed until taxi if you wish. We will close it now to cut down on noise. Use keyboard command left control C to close the canopy. When it's fully closed, click the yellow canopy handle to lock it in place. Verify the canopy warning light on the right eyebrow goes out. Press spacebar to continue. Now it's time to get the engine up and running. This can go quickly, so feel free to restart the mission at any point if there's something you want to watch more closely. First, position the JFS switch to start 2 with a left click.
Oke. JFS. Oh, nih di bawah ya.
That just expended both jet fuel starter JFS accumulator bottles and began to spool up the JFS. This also closed the Flickus relays and applied power to the Flickus. The JFS run light should come on when it's up to speed and engine RPM should start to increase. Now let's monitor the engine instruments. At 20% RPM, advance the throttle to idle position, right shift, and home. This provides power to the engine igniters and starts fuel flow. You should note airframe vibration and an increase in the fan turbine engine inlet temperature as RPM increases. Monitor those on the right side of the instrument panel as the engine start cycle continues. The secondary caution light goes out at 20% RPM and the JFS automatically shuts off at 55%. The JFS light should go out and the JFS switch should return to the off position automatically. At 60% RPM, the standby generator comes online and the engine warning light goes out. A few seconds later, the main generator comes online and the standby generator goes offline. All aircraft systems are now running off electricity from the generator and are ready to be powered up. Normal indications after engine start are hydraulic and oil warning lights off, fuel flow between 700 and 1700 pounds per hour, oil pressure 15 psi minimum, nozzle position greater than 94%, RPM 62 to 80%, F-tip 650 C or less, and hydraulic pressure for A and B between 2850 and 3250 psi. Verify those on the instrument panel and press spacebar to continue. Now that power is provided by the generator, we have 3 quick tests to run on the master test panel. Position the probe heat switch to probe heat. Verify the probe heat caution light on the caution light panel is off. Illumination means one or more probe heaters are inoperative or failure of the monitoring system has occurred. Now position the probe heat switch to test. The probe heat caution light should flash 3 to 5 times per second. The probe heat monitoring system is inoperative if this does not occur. Return the probe heat switch to the off position. Press spacebar to continue.
Sudah.
Next, depress the fire and overheat detect button. Verify that the engine fire warning light and the overheat caution light are illuminated when the button is pushed. This checks for continuity of the fire and overheat detection loops. Press spacebar to continue. Then, depress the malfunction indicator lights button. All cockpit warning, caution, and indicator lights should illuminate when the button is depressed. Voice message system audio alerts should play in priority sequence. A brief landing gear warning horn should be heard prior to the warning and caution words. Press spacebar to continue. Now it's time to get our systems up and running and start the INS alignment. This is far easier than it sounds. First, turn on all the switches.
Ntar dulu. Sayang. Oke. Oops. Oke, sebentar. Oke, sip. Nah, ini tes. Very nice. Oke, yang di sini. Oke, sip. Sip. Lanjut.
On the avionics power panel, each switch in sequence provides power to the modular mission computer, or MMC, power to the store stations, or STA, power to the two MFDs, power to the upfront controls, or UFC, power to the GPS receiver, and power to the data link, or DL. There's also a map power switch, but this is not used in the Block 50 Viper. Press spacebar to continue.
Dah.
Next, position the EGI INS knob to align. This begins alignment of the EGI INS ring laser gyro navigation system. A normal alignment takes approximately 4 minutes to accomplish if the aircraft remains stationary. The knob should be set to nav prior to taxi. Press spacebar to continue. While the INS is busy aligning, we'll complete the rest of the cockpit setup and checks. First, set the CNI knob to the UFC position. This enables control of the primary communications, navigation, and identification functions from the upfront controls. Check that all three wheels down lights are illuminated green. This confirms that the landing gear is down and locked, and the micro switches that sense their position are working properly. While you're there, cycle the speed brakes open, left shift B, and back closed, left control B, using the switch on the throttle. Confirm this visually and monitor the speed brake indicator. Press spacebar to continue.
Mana? Left shift B. Mana nggak buka?
Next, uncage the standby ADI on the instrument panel. This can be done by rotating the knob until the aircraft symbol is aligned with the horizon. Press spacebar to continue.
Ya.
On the sensor power panel, turn on these three switches. Right hardpoint switch, on if the targeting pod is installed, FCR switch to FCR, radar altimeter switch to radar altimeter. Radar and radar altimeter transmissions are inhibited until the aircraft becomes airborne, but activation of these systems may be delayed until just before takeoff.
Okay.
Press spacebar to continue.
Dan.
Now we're down to a series of checks that may be run to verify proper operation of the aircraft systems. We will start with the check of the engine operation in the secondary engine control mode. This mode is selected in the case of a failure of the engine-mounted digital computer that controls scheduling of the engine fuel flow. First,
Okay.
raise the switch guard and position the engine control switch to sec. Verify the sec caution light is on and engine RPM is stabilized. RPM may drop up to 10% from the pry value before stabilizing. Stabilized sec idle RPM may be up to 5% lower than in pry. Press spacebar to continue. Now hold down the wheel brake to the next part so your aircraft does not move. Snap the throttle to mill and then back to idle when engine RPM reaches 85%. Check for normal indications and smooth operation. The nozzle position should be 5% or less within 30 seconds after selecting sec. Press spacebar to continue. Now, set the engine control switch back to pry and lower the switch guard. Check the sec light goes out
Okay.
and nozzle position returns to greater than 94%. Press spacebar to continue. Next, we'll run a check of the flickus. Start by cycling all your flight controls. Maximum stick inputs warm hydraulic fluid and remove air bubbles, making test failures less likely. Then position the flickus bit switch to bit. The run light on the flight control panel illuminates. After a successful completion of the bit, approximately 45 seconds later, the run light goes off, the bit switch returns to off, and the fail light and the flickus warning light remains off. A bit pass message appears on the flickus MFD page. Other tasks may be completed while the flickus bit runs. Press spacebar to continue. Now we will test a fuel quantity indicating system. We will do this by checking the state of the fuel quantity indicator with the fuel quantity knob in the different positions. Start by positioning the fuel quantity knob to test. On the fuel quantity indicator, the FRAL pointer should indicate 2,000 plus or minus 100 pounds, and totalizer should indicate 6,000 plus or minus 100 pounds. The forward and aft low fuel caution lights should illuminate. The quantity readouts in the other positions should match the aircraft's actual fuel load. After the check is complete, set the fuel quantity knob back to norm. Press spacebar to continue.
Okay.
Next, let's check the operation of the digital backup software. It is used if problems arise with the primary flickus software. First, position the digital backup switch to backup. Verify that DBU on warning light illuminates and operate your controls. All surfaces should respond normally. Next, return the digital backup switch to off. Verify the DBU on warning light goes off. Press spacebar to continue.
Okay.
Now we'll verify that the trim system is functioning correctly. Set trim autopilot disconnect switch to disconnect. Use the trim head on your stick to trim at both pitch and roll. There should be no control surface motion and no movement on the trim wheels or indicators. Press spacebar to continue.
Dia auto kalau nggak salah kan trimnya.
Return the trim AP disconnect switch to the norm position. Again, use your trim head on the stick to trim at both pitch and roll. The control surface and trim indicators should move. Center the trim for pitch and roll and use the yaw trim knob to check the center trim for yaw.
Okay.
Press spacebar to continue. Next is to check if the manual pitch override system is working correctly. Start by pushing the stick full forward and holding that position. The horizontal tail should deflect down. Then position the MPO switch to override and hold. Confirm that horizontal tail trailing edges move further down. Release the stick and MPO switch and confirm that the horizontal tail returns to its original position. Press spacebar to continue. The last check is of the emergency power unit. This check verifies EPU electrical power is available in case of an emergency. It may be delayed until just before takeoff if desired. First, check EPU fuel quantity to reach 95 to 102%. Next, set oxygen to 100%. Then, holding down the brake, increase engine RPM to 10% above normal idle. Press spacebar to continue. Set the EPU generator test switch to EPU generator and hold it in position. Check the following lights: EPU air light on, EPU generator and EPU PMG lights off, flickus power lights on, EPU run light on for a minimum of 5 seconds. Press spacebar to continue. Return the EPU generator test switch to the off position. Return the throttle to idle and set oxygen back to normal. Press spacebar to continue. That's it. You're ready to taxi as soon as your INS alignment is complete, and you position the EGI INS knob to nav. Use the time on the ground to set up your avionics systems for the assigned mission. Things to consider include SMS page and profiles, radio channels and frequencies, navigation data, bingo fuel settings, ALO settings, and any other systems applicable to the mission. We will pick up again at this point in the lesson that covers taxi and takeoff. You may use the escape key to exit the mission now or continue to explore the aircraft on your own.
Baru mau align cuy, lama bener. Udah ya, kita taxi itu kita iniin aja VFR straight in landing. Nah nih, coba latihan landing ya.
In this lesson, we'll go over the basics of landing an F16 in visual flight rules conditions using a straight-in approach. This will also be useful later for the overhead brake and instrument flight rules landing lessons. I have the lesson paused so we can set the aircraft up in preparation for the approach. Then we'll land the aircraft and shut it down. Press spacebar to continue. Start by checking your fuel quantity on the fuel quantity indicator. Enough fuel should be remaining to land safely, but too much fuel can lengthen the landing road and make stopping the aircraft much more difficult. You're fine here, but you may want to burn some fuel off if you return from a mission early. Also, verify no red is visible on the indicator needles that indicate a fuel imbalance. This should be corrected by transferring fuel with the engine feed knob on the fuel control panel before landing. Fuel is automatically balanced under normal conditions, so this should be very rare. Press spacebar to continue. Next, verify the landing light switch is in the up landing position. This will make your aircraft easier to see by the tower controllers or other pilots near the airfield, and provide illumination you need in dark conditions. Also, set the master arm and laser arm switches to off to save the weapon systems. Press spacebar to continue.
Yeah.
Now, verify your attitude references match. The pitch and roll attitude on your HUD, the ADI and standby ADI should agree. Left-click the standby ADI knob to cage and uncage if recalibration is necessary. Then, on the altimeter, verify the current airfield altimeter setting of 2992 is set. You can rotate the pressure setting knob with the mouse wheel to select a new setting if it becomes necessary. Also, verify the altitude displayed on the HUD matches the altitude on the altimeter in both the electrical and pneumatic altimeter modes within plus or minus 75 feet. Set the altimeter back to electric mode when you're done, and press spacebar to continue. Next, stow the targeting pod camera if installed by selecting the targeting pod control page on the MFD and selecting standby. This is done prior to takeoff and landing to prevent foreign object damage to components. We have no pod installed for this lesson, so press spacebar to continue.
Nggak ada, bohong aja. Nah, balik FCR lagi.
A 2.5 degree glide slope is standard for an F-16 final approach. To measure a glide slope angle, reference the flight path marker on the HUD in relation to the pitch ladder. Now when you're ready, press spacebar and I'll unpause the lesson. After the lesson is unpaused, reduce your throttle and fly through the gates ahead. I'll talk you through the approach as we go. Verify your airspeed is below 300 knots and lower the landing gear by moving the landing gear control handle down. Do this by clicking on the handle or pressing the G key. The trailing edge flaps will automatically lower as the gear extend. Once the gear and flaps are down, check that all three wheels down lights are illuminated green on the left side of the instrument panel next to the gear handle. This confirms the landing gear are down and locked. An additional pitch ladder at 2.5 degrees will be added to the HUD when the landing gear are extended. You're on glide slope when both the 2.5 degree pitch ladder and flight path marker are placed at the end of the runway. Press spacebar to continue.
lambat.
Now open the speed brakes using the switch on your throttle and increase throttle to maintain speed if necessary. The slightly higher throttle setting required with the increased drag from the speed brakes will keep you from constantly bumping against the idle stop on approach. This is also one less thing you'll have to remember to do after touching. Press spacebar to continue.
Nggak tahu. Nggak nyium. Udah tahan aja di sini. Glove attack-nya jelek banget anjir. Gimana ya nih? Aduh, rudder nggak kepencet. Oke. Nah, dah. Masih X ya. Masuk steering. Oke. Rudder jauh banget. Oke lah ya. Sip.
Keep flying through the gates and reduce speed to achieve.
Jelek. Ya udah lah ya, ikut aja. Overhead brake. Wah, nggak usah. Ini. UFC. Oke lah, UFC nih.
Now let's dig a little deeper into how to control key aircraft systems. We'll have a look at the upfront controls, the UFC, the large bank of buttons, and the small display at the top of the instrument panel. These allow you to quickly access communications, navigation, IFF, and other information in one place without digging around on the cockpit panels. Many of the specific functions we covered in lessons on navigation and weapons delivery, but we'll get a feel here for the basic concepts and run through some practical examples. If you're already familiar with how the UFC works and are looking for specific system operation, then feel free to move on. Now, this lesson, maybe more than any others, will require a lot of acronyms to be thrown your way. There's simply no way around it. Don't worry though, I'll include enough context to understand exactly what's going on, even if you don't remember what each one means. Press spacebar when you're ready to begin.
Oke.
To use the upfront controls to their full potential, the C&I switch on the IFF control panel must be in the UFC position.
Iyalah.
If the UFC fails, the backup position allows operation of the radios and IFF using their cockpit panels. For now though, leave this in the UFC position. The UFC consists of two elements. They'll use the Integrated Control Panel, or ICP, to call up and manipulate data that's displayed on the Data Entry Display, DED, the small digital readout just to the right. There's more to come on the DED, but for now just know that there are many different pages that can be called up that show us different sets of information. The C&I page is displayed by default and shows you basic information on communications, navigation, and the Identify Friend or Foe, IFF status. Press spacebar to continue. There are a lot of buttons on the ICP, so let's break them down into three main functions. First are the two master mode buttons. Depressing these selects the air-to-air or air-to-ground master mode and configures the fire control system and displays to support that type of attack. Try it now if you would like. We start in the navigation master mode with navigation information dominating the HUD and the horizontal situation display, or HSD, on the right MFD. So to press either of the master mode buttons, you'll see attack symbology displayed in the HUD and the SMS page with weapons information called up on the right MFD. Depress the button again and it returns to the navigation master mode. Now, there are other master modes, but these three are the ones you'll deal with most often. Explore that some more if you wish and press spacebar to continue. Next are the four override buttons. These override any other DED page to show you the page that corresponds to the depressed button. Depressing an override button a second time returns to the previous page. The COM1, COM2, and IFF buttons take you directly to those pages. The list button displays a list of pages that can be accessed by depressing the corresponding button from a menu. I mentioned before that the C&I page is displayed on the DED by default. Go ahead and call up some of these other override pages to get a feel for how navigating between pages works. We can return to the default C&I page by either entering data, and more on this later, or by toggling the data control switch, the DCS, left to the return position. So continue to explore this if you would like, and toggle left to return to the C&I page when you're done. Press spacebar to continue. Next, we have several priority function buttons. Like the override buttons, these are used to call up different pages on the DED. However, these do not override other pages and only function when used from the C&I page. The buttons serve as a numeric keyboard once a page other than C&I is called up. We'll look at some of these in more detail in the navigation lesson, so for now, call up some pages by depressing the buttons. Remember to toggle left on the DCS to return to the C&I page before trying to select another one of these pages. So continue to explore that and press spacebar when you're ready to move on. So that's how we swap between the different pages. Once we're there, we also have a few switches and buttons for entering and manipulating data. The increment-decrement switch increases or decreases values for the field selected on the current DED page. Values that can be increased or decreased are identified by an up and down arrow next to them on the display. For example, the steer point at the top right of the CNI page has these arrows, so the steer point can be changed using this switch. Press spacebar to continue.
Ya.
We've already used the data control switch, DCS, to return to the CNI page, but we can also use it to change the highlighted field on DED pages by toggling up or down, or sequence through different data by toggling right. So try it with the CNI page selected. Keep in mind though, this could work differently depending on the page selected and the type of data displayed in each field. Press spacebar to continue. The Mode Select button is used on some pages to cycle between different modes. On other pages it serves as a 0 key or identifies a negative number. The Enter button is used to accept new values typed into a data field with the keypad. Depress the Recall button once to erase the last digit that was entered, like with a backspace key. Depressing it a second time restores the originally entered value. Press spacebar to continue. Now there are a few other switches and dials on the ICP, but let's look at those a little later. For now, let's run through some practical examples using the controls we just saw. One of the most common tasks will be to change radio frequencies or preset channels. So depress the COM1 override button to call up the DED page for the primary UHF radio. You'll see two asterisks on either side of the highlighted field. The asterisks mean that new data can be entered into that field using the keypad. Most missions will have several channels already set to specific frequencies. So let's say, for example, the AWACS controller we want to talk to is on channel 2. Type 2 into the field and press enter. That returns us to the CNI page, and channel 2 is displayed as the selected UHF channel. From there, you can toggle the DCS up or down until the arrows are next to the UHF field. When a preset channel is displayed like this, the increment-decrement switch can be used to change the channel straight from the CNI page. So explore that some more if you wish, and press spacebar to continue. Let's say we don't know the preset channel and only know the frequency. Now this works for both radios, but this time depress the COM2 button to call up the page for the auxiliary VHF radio. We typed a channel number into the field last time, but we can also enter a full frequency. So type 13100 and press enter. That returns us to the CNI page, and 131 is entered as the new VHF frequency. Now let's look at one more example to see the other data entry controls at work. Verify you are back on the CNI page, then depress the TILS priority function button. This calls up the page for TACAN navigation and instrument landing system, or ILS data. We'll look at this in detail in other lessons, but it's a great spot to get a feel for how moving around a page works. Many pages like this have several different fields where data can be entered, so toggle the DCS switch up and down to cycle through the available fields. But unlike with the last page, entering the data does not return us to the CNI page from here. This is also one where toggling the DCS right to the sequence position has a different effect. This time it cycles through the different operational modes for the TACAN, like receive, transmit receive, or air-to-air transmit receive. Go ahead and explore this some more if you'd like, then toggle left on the DCS to return to the CNI page. Press spacebar to continue. Let's look at one more example before moving on to the next lesson. Depress the List Override button to bring up the list of extra pages. Then depress the 7 key that corresponds to the CMDS or Countermeasures Dispenser Set page. This page is a little different because it includes a number of sub-pages. These can be accessed by toggling the DCS right to the sequence position. Try that now. The key thing to take away from these examples is that some pages behave differently than others. We'll cover some of that in the lessons on specific systems, but it's something to keep in mind while exploring the aircraft on your own. Press the spacebar when you're ready to move on, and we'll wrap up with a look at the other controls on the ICP.
Okay.
We also have some controls that don't apply to data entry. First is the symbology brightness dial at the top left. This is used to turn on the HUD symbology during startup and to increase or
Oke. Itu udah tahu. Tapi tadi set radio segala macam udah. Oke lah. Oke, balik ke sini. Air-to-air missile.
Welcome to the F16 A9 Sidewinder training mission. You are at 12,000 feet MSL, 30 nautical miles southwest of your home base, Hotas Air Base. The first steps will be to set up your aircraft for air-to-air combat. When ready to continue, press the. When you do so, note that the right MFD should change to the Stores Management or SMS page. Use the right MFD OSB 7 to switch between the 4 A9 mic that are wing mounted and the 2 A9 Lima that are wing tip mounted. Both nomenclatures use AIM-9 LN. Given the engagement's plan, it might be better to use the A9 Limas against the initial non-maneuvering targets, but the choice is yours. When ready to continue, press the spacebar. Now look at the left MFD. First, we will keep the radar in range while scan for this training. Finally, use the left MFB OSB 19. You are now ready to be in a rear hemisphere AIM-9 engagement. You will need to accomplish the following steps fairly quickly, so take a minute to review them. 1. Find and lock the target on the radar. 2. Accelerate and fly towards the target. 3. Uncage the AIM-9 seeker. 4. Monitor range to the target using the radar, MFD, and HUD. 5. When in range and the missile is locked, Sidewinder growl in your headset, shoot the AIM-9. When ready to continue, press the spacebar. Note that the Dynamic Launch Zone, DLZ, on the right side of the HUD and radar is fairly small. This is because both you and the target are traveling in the same direction, producing a low closure rate. However, notice the IR seeker's growl, indicating that it can readily detect the target's hot engine exhaust. Regardless of the missile's iron lock, it is best to close to inside the maximum range versus maneuvering target bracket on the DLZ. Fox 2.
Terlalu dekat. dia kabur.
Fox 2. Smash the target. Good job. Before you begin the next engagement, set the radar range to 40 nautical miles using the left MFD OSB 20. Also, take a look at the AIM-9s remaining using the SMS on the right MFD. When ready to continue, press the spacebar. Get ready to begin a forward hemisphere AIM-9 engagement. Again, we need to accomplish the following steps fairly quickly, so review them now. 1. Find and lock the target on the radar. 2. Fly towards the target. 3. Uncage the AIM-9 seeker. 4. Monitor range to the target using the radar MFD and HUD. 5. When in range and the missile is locked, sidewinder growl in your headset, shoot the AIM-9. Note, a higher closure rate in a forward hemisphere nose-on-nose engagement means that things will happen much faster. Be ready for it. Likewise, the IR seeker will take longer to detect the heat of the target. The DLZ on the HUD and radar display will be much bigger as the closure rate is much higher. When ready to continue, press the spacebar. Fox 2. Good kill.
Oke.
Very good. Now take a moment to inspect the cockpit settings. You set the radar to an adequate search range, at least 40 nautical miles, on the left MFD. You should also step to the next steer point using the DED rocker switch on the UFC. The next target will be circling near steer point 2. Again, use the right MFD SMS page to check the number of sidewinders remaining. When ready to continue, press the spacebar. This time you must decide on the type of engagement, forward hemisphere or rear hemisphere, you will attempt. The target aircraft will continue to circle until you attack it with a missile. Once you shoot, the target will attempt to evade the missile and decoy the flares. It will also try to defend itself. However, its air-to-air missiles are older, rear aspect only weapons. Good luck. When ready to continue, press the space.
Bentar. Javlar di mana ya? Oke. Ini IFF. Oh, ini uncatch switch. Oke. Oh ini dogfight center. Ini dogfight mode, missile override. Ini apa? Oh speed brake, oke. Smith. Ini dogfight mode. Ini speed brake. Ini ya, apa namanya? Shuffler tuh mana ya? Oh nih. Oh ini CMS. DMS, oke. Ini trim, oke. Ini apa? Oh di press ya. Ini pedal switch, oke. Shuffler mana ya? Lupa gua. Live console. Oh kosong ya? Kata apa ya shuffler ya? Countermeasure, deploy countermeasure. Oh ini. Lupa apa ya? Deploy countermeasure. Countermeasure. Countermeasure management switch left. Oh ya oke. Ini kan. Ini. Oke.
Cat flare.
Ngapain sih? Steer point 2. Steer point 2 di mana dah? Udah kayaknya. Suruh pulang. Oke. Ram nih.
Welcome to the F16C AIM-120 AMRAAM training mission. You are at 24,000 feet in Nacelle. Overhead, your home airfield, Hotas Air Base.
Okay.
First steps will be to set up your aircraft for air-to-air combat. When ready to continue, press the spacebar. To set up your F-16 for air-to-air combat, first ensure master arm on. When you do so, note that the right MFD will change to the storage management page showing AIM-120 missiles are selected. Using the right MFD, OSB-7, you can switch between the 4 wing-mounted AIM-1 on the left MFD. Increase the radar search range to 80 nautical miles. When you do so, you should see a target about the middle of the display. It is the first air target. You can lock it up now or wait till on pause. The first 2 engagements will follow the same pattern. 1. Lock the target. 2. Close the range until at least inside the maximum flyout range. 3. Put the target designation box inside the allowable steering error circle. And 4. Fire the missile. When ready to continue, press the spacebar.
I need speed. Berapa nautical miles? 25.
Fox 3.
Sir.
Splash the target.
Pull up. Altitude. Altitude.
Good job. Before you begin the next engagement, set the radar search range to 40 nautical miles. Check AIM-120's remaining using the SMS display on the right MFD. Set steer point to number 2 using the upfront controls DED up switch. Note, it may help situational awareness to check the horizontal situation display. Switch between right MFD pages using Hotas, stick, DMS, right short presses. When ready to continue, press the spacebar. In this engagement, we will attempt to shoot down 2 MiG-29s in a single pass by using the AMRAAM's ability to go active after launch. The targets are at approximately 16,000 feet, heading northwest at 430 knots in a line abreast formation. The plan is to lock one target, preferably the closest, in single target track and launch an AIM-120 while still BVR. You will keep this target locked until the indicator shows the missile has gone active. A counter changes to T counter. Once the first missile has gone active, you will unlock the first target, lock the second target, and shoot an AIM-120 at it. If done correctly, you have 2 AMRAAMs in the air against 2 different targets. When the second missile goes active, unlock the second target and be prepared to engage either target should the first shots miss. When ready to continue, press the space bar. Fox 3. Splash the target. Fox 3.
Lock.
Fox 3. Good kill. Well done. Now take a moment to inspect the cockpit settings. Reset the radar to at least 40 nautical miles search range on the left MFD. Step to the next steer point 3, using the DED up switch on the upfront controls. On the right MFD SMS page, check the remaining AIM-120s. For this run, AIM-120C is preferable, but not necessary. Also on the SMS page, use OSB-19 to set the missile to bore. This will force it to use bore sight mode. ready to continue, press the spacebar. This engagement will be a mad dog shot. An AMRAAM fired in this mode can and will lock onto the first air target it detects, even friendly aircraft. When ready, turn towards steer point 3 and search for the target using the radar. The target is an Su-24 Fencer at approximately 6,000 feet, 450 knots, heading northeast. Once detected, do not lock it with the radar. Rather, maneuver to keep it on the display as you move to intercept it. When ready to continue, press spacebar. The target is now within 20 nautical miles. Visually search for it. Once you have acquired the fencer, turn off the radar using the RF master switch. When the target is within 10 nautical miles, center it on the HUD and shoot an AMRAAM. Fox 3. Good kill. Congratulations. You have successfully engaged all the targets and completed AIM 120 training in the F16C Viper. You may end the flight.
Okay. Nih TWS harusnya lebih susah nih, dia bisa ngelock banyak.
Welcome to the AIM 120 track while scan in Link 16 training. You are at 12,000 feet MSL over the coast of the Black Sea, approximately 2 nautical miles east of the bullseye. The first step will be to set up your aircraft for air-to-air combat. When ready to continue, press the spacebar. To set your F16 for air-to-air, when you do so, note that the right MFD should change to the SMS page showing the AIM 120 missiles are selected. Using the right MFD, OSB 7, you can switch between the 4 wing-mounted AIM 120B and 2 wingtip-mounted AIM 120C. When ready to continue, press the spacebar. On the left MFD, change the radar mode from range while next, reduce the scan azimuth sweep to 30. When you do so, you should notice 2 radar targets. They will start as search targets, small solid boxes, that should turn into track targets, large solid boxes. Once this occurs, press the spacebar to continue. As you fly towards the targets, press TMS-R, Hotas stick TMS right. This will change both tracks to system tracks, large empty boxes. System tracks will be used to guide the AIM 120s after launch. Use TMS-R again to bug the closest target. This will select it for an AIM 120 shot. As the bug target enters max flight range, shoot the missile. Fox 3. Quickly press the TMS-R again to select the next target. Shoot another AIM 120 at the second target. Good kill. Fox 3. Splash the target. Well done. Reset the radar search to 80 nautical miles using OSB 20. Also, step to steer point 2 using the DED up rocker switch on the UFC. This will be a Link 16 next, using the right MFD OSB 13, set the right MFD to the HSD page. The next steps will start slow, but the pace will rapidly increase. Review the following. Turn towards steer point 3. Examine the HSD. Note the similar display on the radar. On the radar, place your cursor near the targets and press TMS-R a couple of times to select an open target. When in range, shoot. Press TMS-R again to pick another target. Check the HSD to coordinate with your Winwing. Shoot again. Good luck.
302 480 at 6,000 knots. Springfield 6-1, Magic 1-1, Bra 304 480 at 6,000 knots. 299.70. 2, contact bearing 298.70. Springfield 6-1, Magic 1-1, Bra 294-450 at 7,000 knots. Springfield 6-1, Magic 1-1, Bra 291-445 at 7,000 knots. Springfield 6-1, Magic 1-1, Bra 288-445 at 7,000 knots. Springfield 6-1, Magic 1-1, Bra 286-445 at 7,000 knots.
Fox 3. Fox 3. Fox 3. Fox 3. Winchester, aim 120 AMRAAM.
Valley Bandit, 11 o'clock.
Splash the target.
2, contact bearing 230.8. 2, Valley Bandit, 12 o'clock.
Good kill.
3, contact bearing 231.
Splash the target.
Springfield 6-1, Magic 1-1, merged.
Good kill.
Altitude. Altitude.
Congratulations,
Pull up.
you have successfully
Pull up.
engaged all of the targets.
Oke, kayaknya sampai sini dulu. Kita udah ya lumayan catching up lah. Tadi udah cara nyalain, terus pakai M9 landing 120. Mungkin nanti nextnya kita belajar ini CCIP bomb, CCRP bomb, AGM65 Maverick, terus ini apa nih, si Magnum ya, AGM88 ya, Harm, Jedam, Jeshow, ECM. Nah itu. Oke, kalau gitu sampai ketemu, mungkin nanti agak sorean lagi. Kita ini dulu, saya mau istirahat sebentar, habis itu kita makan dan lanjut lagi. Oke, thank you. See you on another stream.